Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's December 16th of 2022. It's almost 7 p.m. I think I mentioned in a previous video that we had some maintenance type problems with our apartment. I think the worst, let's see, yeah, I think the worst one is that the furnace starts running, today. Uh, we didn't have any problem. Well, we had problems actually. It was after midnight, but not counting that. Let's count, the daytime. At about 5 p.m., the thermostat was set to heat and set for, I think, 70 degrees, or no, 80 degrees. The ex-wife, she's a pain in the butt when it comes to temperature, So before she moved in and my ex-son moved in, for the years that he would get electricity, TXU or whatever, and I tried to look at the reports that you get, that, so I was trying to keep the cost down and looking at what it was a year ago this month, and things like that. I was trying to keep it down, but once she moved in, she likes it. When it's warm weather, she likes the air conditioning really cool, and when it's cold weather, she likes it really hot. But of course, utility costs have been going up like crazy. Anyway, they have there's a thermostat here that controls air conditioning and, heating. And in the bathroom of these apartments, up above the bathtub in the ceiling, I've been when the maintenance guys have had to work on something, but I can't see exactly what. Now the air conditioning unit sits outside, but there's some components, I don't know, that run into also up there where the furnace thing is. Well, anyway, what's been happening for the last few days is that, I'll just tell you what, and this is an example. Today, everything after about 6 in the morning, there was a problem last in the early hours of the morning. But had the heat set to 80 degrees. And I waited, actually, there's 3 work orders in for things, one of them being the thermostat and the furnace and that type of stuff. And I kind of thought they would come today and do something. Now, they came the other day, and it was sort of like, this is the on and off switch on the this does the temp, yeah. I haven't got Alzheimer's yet, but they're nice guys. But they said, well, we really need to be here to see what's going on, when it's doing this. So anyway, I was kind of waiting for them to show up because there was 3 items altogether they needed to work on. And so they go off duty. Of course, you can call them if it's an emergency or, something important, after hours. But they go off duty at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., about 5 p.m., about 4 p.m., I decided to take a nap. I'd been waiting for them all day long. both my ex-wife was sleeping all day long and my grown son was sleeping all day long. And so I stayed awake. And about 4 p.m. I needed to take a nap, so I laid down. And about 6 p.m. I heard the ex-wife calling. And I had an Alexa unit in here, but and then there's one in the dining room where the ex-wife, is. But she used it so much. She used it all the time. I mean, all the time. Too much. And then my grown son, he started playing around with the, programming on the thing. And so I made, I used Alexa for here. And it was set up in the kitchen for, Darlene, for the kitchen was to be Echo. And I tried computer, and that didn't work out very well because of these videos I'd be making and saying computer too often. So it's Alexa here. My grown son has become really good at playing around with and changing things. And so I just disconnected the, Amazon unit that I have in here. I was getting too many unnecessary messages and things. But anyway, she called out, and I heard, and as soon as I got up, I could feel the heat. And the furnace was running, and it was 92 degrees in here. And this is the problem I've been having. And it doesn't do any good to try and turn it down, because it'll just keep running. And it doesn't do any good to turn it off. It continues to run. Now what you can do, there's a couple things you can do. You can't turn it off. You can flip the AC, and then it'll start, after that. I'm sure it's set up some way in the coding, where it's not going to immediately, it gets the hot air out of it. But then when you can turn the air conditioning on, and then when the air conditioning gets the temperature down to like where it was set for 80 degrees, then it will stop. Now I forget all the things that have popped up and me messing with the thing. I think if I can't remember all the things that I tried and I explained to them when they came the other day. But anyway, when it gets to now, if I'd have got it down and left it in heat, it would just continue to run, even though it would go up. If it got down to 80 degrees, it would just keep going all the way up to at least 92, because it's been up there like that before. But if you put it on air conditioning, then when it comes down, then it will stop when it gets to that temperature, and it will just kick on when it needs to, do the thing right there at that configuration, I think. So, like I said, I'm not an air conditioning, I'm not an air conditioning person. So I can't, Now some of the hospitals that I worked at, security would be responsible for adjusting the temperature, because the nurses, if they, some of the hospitals, they started out, okay, well, the nursing unit will have a key, that they can go and insert it in this thing and adjust it or whatever. They'd break the thing off and all this kind of stuff, so security ended up having to do it. Not all of the hospitals had us doing that. I'm not going to go through the list, it's not necessary. One hospital that I worked at for 9 years, a small hospital, at night there was no plant operations people there at all. And for the beginning years, I'm not sure for how long, can't remember. I worked there when the place opened, and I worked there for 9 years. The boiler would go off, so you'd lose heat and stuff like that. And so we started well, there was just one of us on duty at a time. There was just two for total, that we had totally there, just two of us, not at the same time. Now my problem, which I really didn't broadcast, I mean, the ER nurses and doctors figured it out. The boiler room was in the center part of the hospital, and the boiler, in the very beginning for quite a while, the boiler would just go off. And like I said, there was no plant operations there. And so the maintenance people installed an alarm, a loud, bell, or whatever, I can't remember now, right outside the plant operations. When I was in the emergency room, my hearing, I could not hear that at all. So I'd be in the emergency room. After a while I kind of learned, I'd be in the emergency room and the nurses would be looking around, or the ER doctor, and then, I guess in the very beginning somebody would say, "Jim, what's that alarm?" And then I'd know. And then I could walk halfway through the hospital there on the ground floor, and I had to be almost at the door in order to hear that sound. The alarm. That wasn't exactly good, but anyway, various hospitals I worked at, a lot of times security had to take care of the, adjusting of the temperature thing, because nurses would just crank it all the way, And two, what a lot of people don't understand is, like at night in the the winter time or whatever, or summertime, whatever it was, it was cold because the plant ops people, and with the computers and stuff that they had to keep it cold. So when hot weather, August or something, when hot weather was coming, the air conditioning units and everything would not be able to keep the hospital cool enough during the daytime. So what they had to do is make it cool at night. So we were, a lot of nurses would, get a warm blanket out of the thing that they put blankets and things in to keep them warm for the patients. They'd put, and it was kind of miserable. And you're inside the building, but you're cold all night long. And of course, the same though with the patients. Of course, they have blankets and that type of stuff. But they'd be complaining, and then we'd go up and adjust to the thing, but it would really have no effect, because the computer would be controlling those kind of things. But anyway, my point being, I really don't know that much about. But if I had $1 for every thermostat that I adjusted, anyway, I think these plant operations people here, the maintenance guys, they're really nice. Two of them they work two at a time here. But I don't know if they think that I have Alzheimer's. I don't think I do. If you have Alzheimer's, you may not know that you have it. I don't think I do, but I'm not, Not at that point yet. I got the other camera to work. I mentioned in a previous video that my second camera, when I tried to run it, I got a warning, which I don't remember ever getting that before. You know, not enough, whatever it was, not enough hubs, not enough something or other for, you know, for the USB devices. So what I did is I moved the Avery Media camera, that one there that I'm pointing at, I moved it from the hub over to the computer, B-Link computer, and that seems to have alleviated that little problem or whatever. So let's see what's going on here. I really don't have, let's go to CNN. Where in the hell is Machu Picchu? About 300 travelers from South America and the U.S. and Europe are unable to leave the ancient city. Must be in South America, I guess. And see, public anger mounts in Peru. Lawmakers reject reforms needed to hold early elections. Video shows protesters storming airport runways. Wow, you just keep hearing new things. You know, a 2-year-old rescued after being swallowed by a hippopotamus. A massive aquarium bust in Berlin hotel. When I was married, my wife and I, for 4 years, we had a aquarium, you know, sold tropical fish and plants. I loved plants. We ordered in, for Kansas City, Missouri, we ordered in the best aquarium plants. That was kind of like my specialty. I ordered those. We paid more for them, but we got great plants in. The people who had aquariums, and there were people who had more aquarium tanks than we did, you know, in their homes. And they kind of looked down on us, you know, because they had more fish than we had. And they'd get together with the other aquarium people and they would place orders like they were a business, and they'd order in fish, do all kinds of stuff. But once a year they'd have at a sort of a, I forget what it was called, not exactly a museum, I forget what it was, but they would have, they'd set their fish tanks, which is a lot of work because they set up some big fish tanks. They'd set those things up and stuff like that. Oh, they would ignore us, and I guess probably the rest of the actual people that had, you know, aquarium businesses in Kansas City. They probably had a favorite though, or some, you know, some place that was really one of the early ones or something, you know. But they would show up and buy aquarium plants from us before the show, and then a whole bunch of those tanks that were set up there that looked so good and pretty and everything, they had our plants in there. But they didn't want to come, you know, occasionally they would pop in and kind of have their nose up in the air, you know, like, oh my God. But anyway, we did that for 4 years. And let's see. Missing college student in Spain is safe. Australian politician falls ill after drowning not drowning, by drinking, I guess, potent kava drink. The January 6th committee is considering recommendations to the Department of Justice to pursue at least 3 criminal charges against Trump. I hope they do. I think they should. You know, ex-president should not be, they've never been. They should not be above the law. There are some people in Congress that want a ex-president to lose his pension if he's found guilty of a felony, a crime, is found guilty. Trump has been unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable the things that he has done. He's gone before the news media, and when he was in the White House, he's committed, he's admitted, that he's committed, he'll say, because he wouldn't listen to his people. He's not capable of listening to them unless they're going to tell him how great he is or whatever, and all that type of stuff. So he would actually, be talking, and he would say, that he did this and he did that, and those were, felonies and stuff like that. But I don't think they should take away the pension for a felony. But now I think for the things that he has done, insurrection, treason, those type of things, yeah, I think they should, take away his pension, and also, which is in the law actually, they can charge him with the certain kinds of crimes, and he would no longer be able to hold any office in the United States. So he could never be president again, or vice president, or hold anything. I'm not sure now about a state. I think that would include states also. So he couldn't be like the governor of some state. But I never looked it up. There was a movie. What was it called now? I think it was Man. I ought to look that up. Man Without a Country. It was kind of an okay movie. Not great. It was, it was an old movie. And I don't think the story was true. But I think he was a military man. I think. I forget what type of a problem he had, but in court, he said something to the effect of, "I wish I would never see the American flag, and I wish this," and so the judge sentenced him to be held outside the United States, on a military ship, and that he was never to see the United States or the American flag. Well, of course, the flag would be flying on the ship. But anyway, it was kind of an interesting, and of course at the end, he dies on the ship but he actually, you can tell, that from the story that he did come to regret what he said, and that he did love, I kind of like that story. But, to do that to Trump. No, I don't know what you can do with Trump. But he needs to be held accountable for the crimes, and he committed, major crimes, which I predicted, before, maybe after he was elected. I said that the most corrupt regime that the United States had, most corrupt, presidential, was Ulysses S. Grant, President Grant's administration. Now, he wasn't, but the people under him. This is right after the Civil War, and the people after him were just taking advantage of business situations and doing things, and a whole bunch of them were guilty of that, and he wasn't. I sort of think maybe that the reason that I think that Grant probably, and other people, it was right after the war, Civil War, and I think maybe that Grant picked people that he that he knew that were in the military and felt like they deserved, that they had suffered and had injuries and all kinds of stuff, and that he, picked them, or that he saw them, gave them positions or something, and that's the reason. Then I also said that Trump's administration, I said Trump's administration would surpass that. And then I said that the administration that had the most people in the government, in the federal government who committed crimes or whatever, I said that would be the see, did I say the Nixon administration, or now I can't remember. Did I say the Nixon administration, or that it would be the Bush administration? I can't remember now. But it turns out, I was right. Trump, the Trump administration, God. Was there another category? I can't remember. Let's see. Look, I'm looking to see how many minutes we have going here. More reports of unidentified flying objects. 2 people killed and 2 wounded in a mass shooting outside a Chicago high school. I'm worried about the Ukraine. I wish Putin hadn't done, what he already had grabbed, years back, part of the Ukraine, and massive crime, international crime, and that type of stuff. But then the thing that they're attacking Ukraine, whatever, and what, Putin wants to recreate the USSR, not the, he's not going to call it that, but, and there's a lot of people there that, they think of those as the good old days because they could work at a job, they were guaranteed a job, and of course that led to a lot of problems, because people weren't really doing their jobs, or they weren't needed, and all kinds of problems. And they had pensions, and then after the USSR comes to an end, I guess these people, a lot of them, there was problems with pensions and all housing and just all kinds of things, just a mess. And part of it, a little bit of the problem, was the United States, because Republicans have always been, crazy about communism. Even now, it's, they think that Democrats are communist and the whole thing. And the Republicans used this thing of, against the Democrats, and they also used it, and I said when the USSR came to an end that we needed to, and there was a little bit at that, but then the Republicans again were, sort of against it. But we should have, here's this tremendous partner that we had during World War II, fighting with us and with the, the Allies and everything. And the USSR suffered unbelievable, casualties, much more than the United States, and much more even than the UK. And I said, hey, we need to welcome, the USSR when it broke up, and we need to work with them and cooperate with them, and the Republicans in the background just causing, making it difficult, and that I said, we don't want to humiliate them, and the Republicans, of course, were, capitalism beat, the USSR. No, freedom, freedom beat the USSR. Capitalism didn't, you know. And the Republicans, gave Reagan, like he put an end to communism in the USSR. No, he didn't. If you're going to pick a president who had the most influence, in putting an end to it, it'd be Harry Truman. The Truman Plan, the Marshall Plan, and his putting troops into, Korea when North Korea invaded. I mean, but then all of the presidents, deserved credit. Not if you're going to, Republicans think, well, Reagan, but all of the presidents and all of the American people, for paying taxes and for, going into the military. I mean, just all, but so the Republicans muddied the thing and also what they were doing was like humiliating the, the people of the USSR. And if they had just taken a chill pill, it would have been so much, better, and we might not have ended up with the current type of situation that we have. Putin wants to recreate the united, wants to get back some of those satellite places that, they had, and it's a dangerous situation. And the poor people of Ukraine, they've gone through so much, and they're going through so much. And anyway, see what else. I think that's 30 minutes. That's good. I mean, let's bring this to an end. Thank you very much for watching. I hope they get the furnace thing working here, tomorrow, and the other problems that need to be fixed. Thank you very much for watching.